Vice Foreign Minister Li Yusheng is blaming NATO for the war in Ukraine, calling it, quote, a Cold War vestige. The Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi added that China is on the right side of history over the crisis, quote, as time will tell. Katie McFarlane joins me now. Katie, how strong is the China-Russia alliance?
Well, it's interesting, Stuart, because it was very strong going into the Ukrainian war, right? They had a joint statement the two countries signed at the beginning of the Olympics pledging eternal friendship, and there are no limits to their level of cooperation. And then the war in Ukraine got bogged down. And at that point, the Chinese were kind of ambiguous. You know, they didn't really criticize Russia, but they didn't come out in full support of Russia. Now, after President Biden's phone call with the Chinese president, the two statements that you've just shown, the Chinese, I think, have decided they're going all the way in for Russia. Why? Because they think Russia's going to win.
If they go all the way in with Russia, and we still don't have the transcript from that phone call that the president had last week, so we don't know what the consequences would be as if the president spelled out those consequences. But look, if the Chinese really do help the Russians, and we find out about it, we're supposed to sanction China. You know what that would mean? You sanction China on trade or finance and, excuse my language, all hell breaks loose. Do you think we're prepared to sanction China?
I have no idea what President Biden said other than to threaten there will be severe consequences. But if that's a severe consequence, that doesn't help anybody. I've got to assume that one of the things that President Xi and President Putin talked about at the Olympics was, well, what happens if you can't sell your oil to the West, Vladimir Putin? And the Chinese would have stepped up and said, we'll take it. We'll take it at rock bottom prices. We'll get bargain basement prices. We can use all of your energy. So again, I worry that when countries and leaders make threats that they have no idea how they're going to carry out because they just assume everybody will back down, don't assume that anymore. The United States is in a different position, and the Chinese are convinced that they are going to dominate the 21st century with their pals, Russia, and that the United States is a declining power.
A U.S. admiral says that China has now fully militarized those 3 man-made islands in the South China Sea. China had previously promised not to militarize them. How should our military respond to what just was announced today?
Well, first of all, let's point out what the pledge the Chinese made was. They promised to President Obama, when Biden was vice president, look, we're going to just build out these islands because fishing vessels may need to have some help. We're never going to militarize them. Well, here we are a decade later, they're militarized them. What should the United States response be? We've got to do a couple of things, Stuart. Number one, increase the defense budget, particularly the naval budget. Number two, go all in for high technology. We've not done that. We could go all in for high technology. And then finally, stand up to these guys. Use the weapons we have. The genius of Donald Trump was when he was president, he didn't just talk about American energy independence. He talked about American energy dominance. Now, why is that important? Because then if our companies can produce more oil and natural gas, they can set the international price of oil and natural gas. The Russians need it high. The Iranians need it high. Why? Because their government, their companies are state-controlled, and that pays for everything else. In America, our companies are independent. We make a profit at $40 a barrel. They need it well above 80.
President Trump is going to be on this program in about 8 or 9 minutes. What question do you think I should ask him? What question would you like to ask him?
Well, I would ask him, what would he do? Now, if he were all of a sudden, you know, when he was president, he would sit in the Oval Office and tell me and others, what a mess I inherited. Everything's all screwed up. And he turned it all around very quickly. He turned around the American economy, turned around American national security. He got us to energy independence. He got a peace agreement in the Middle East. But if he were plopped in the Oval Office today, how would he fix things? How would he have a relationship with China or not? What would he do with Vladimir Putin? What would he do with American energy? How would he get us out of this mess?
That's a pretty good question, and I intend to ask it. Almost exactly the way you said it. Katie McFarlane, thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Pleasure.
You got it?
Thank you.